What's up, Justin, man? I heard you're back in the house. You must be feeling better. That hooky day, I hope, worked for you. I'm Ehren. This is Question Period Canada. We're going to help you review the highlights, Justin. You missed so many things. We'll be explaining it to you from a voter's perspective, how we see the question periods in the House Commons. They're ludicrous. Your cabinet is weak these days. Anyhow, we're going to jump right in. It looks like Poilievre has some questions for you, probably about the carbon tax and housing. Let's see.
But Mr. Speaker, people do not have roofs over their head. After 8 years of this Prime Minister, housing costs have doubled. Toronto's the worst housing bubble in the world, and Canada has the worst mortgage bubble in the entire OECD after 8 years of his policies. That's why nearly 4 million people on X alone have watched my groundbreaking and much acclaimed documentary, Housing Hell, How We Got Here and How We Will Get Out. Will the Prime Minister become the 4 millionth Canadian to watch this documentary so he can see a common sense plan to reverse the housing hell that he's caused?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, Canadians need our bold action to keep moving forward on the problem of housing affordability. Unlike the Conservative leader, we know that the federal government plays an essential role in leadership in housing. On this side, we're making historic investments in housing, we're linking public transit dollars to housing density, and we're working with cities to modernize and accelerate the way we build homes. While the Conservative leader focuses on clickbaits and views, we're focused on building homes for Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Official...
Okay, buddy, just to let you know, that's a really slow start for the first question period. Where's your energy? Why aren't the Liberals clapping after you speak?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's funny, he released a video the very same day of him in a starter home pretending that he was a real estate agent, but in reality everyone laughed because they know that he's doubled the housing cost.
Right.
He's delivered an economy where we have the fewest homes per capita of any country in the G7, even though we have the most land to build on. And Toronto is now the worst housing bubble in the world after 8 years of this Prime Minister. So that's why I'm putting partisanship aside and offering the Prime Minister and the Liberal caucus a private screening of my documentary. Will the Prime Minister put his ego aside and join with me personally to take in this documentary, Housing Hell, How We Got In and How We'll Get Out of it?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The reality, Mr. Speaker, is the Conservative leader continues to call for the federal government to get out of the business of housing.
Right.
And we will not repeat the same mistakes he made when he was housing minister under Stephen Harper.
Right.
The Conservative leader's present plan won't build enough homes fast enough, doesn't reach enough cities, and creates unnecessary red tape. He'd also defund affordable housing projects and tax affordable rental construction even more. While the Conservative leader focuses on clickbait and views, we're going to focus on building Canadians more homes.
That's right.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Speaker, he did try to make a video. It was a total failure. His videos don't get clicks and his houses don't have bricks. After 8 years, that's why housing costs have doubled. He shouldn't have to read his entire answer. I'm offering to inform him. If he would just take 15 minutes away from his photo ops, he can watch my brilliant documentary on X or YouTube with a common sense plan to require cities permit 15% more homes, give them bonuses if they exceed the target, require transit around every new federally funded, require housing around every federally funded transit station, and sell off 6,000 buildings. This is common sense. Let's bring it home.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader's plan is to pick fights with municipalities, to create more red tape, and to withdraw funding for affordable housing and affordable apartments. That's not a plan to build more housing, but he has demonstrated that he's extremely satisfied with his ability to spread misinformation and disinformation online, which, yes, I will admit, he's very good at. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we're focused on delivering solutions for Canadians. We're focused on building more housing for Canadians, not focused on self-aggrandizement like the Leader of the Opposition.
The Honourable Leader of this...
All right, Justin, that's not the right energy. You look like you don't even want to be there, and you have to be careful. You're swimming with Pierre Poilievre. He's a shark.
Mr. Speaker, he is the king of self-aggrandizement, as evidenced by the fact that he's attacking my much-acclaimed documentary when he claims he hasn't even watched it. How would he know about the common sense solutions if he hasn't had the attention span to sit there for 15 minutes on YouTube or X and watch it, Mr. Speaker? We'll even try to get it on TikTok so that he can find it. Mr. Speaker, it includes a common sense plan to cut bureaucracy and taxes so that we can bring it home.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when I came into question period today, I didn't think I'd be hearing an infomercial for how great Pierre Poilievre's social media skills. Sorry, the leader.
We'll back up. I mean, the Honourable Prime Minister knows he's not supposed to use the names of members of Parliament. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I apologize. I didn't think Canadians were going to be hearing an infomercial for the Leader of the Opposition's YouTube page. The reality, Mr. Speaker, is Canadians deserve a government focused on delivering housing for them. That is exactly what we are doing with historic deals with cities right across the country, with measures to build more housing quickly. We are concretely solving that while he's talking to himself online.
All right, Justin, that's not the right energy. You look like you don't even want to be there, and you have to be careful. You're swimming with Pierre Poilievre. He's a shark.
Mr. Speaker, he is the king of self-aggrandizement, as evidenced by the fact that he's attacking my much-acclaimed documentary when he claims he hasn't even watched it. How would he know about the common sense solutions if he hasn't had the attention span to sit there for 15 minutes on YouTube or X and watch it, Mr. Speaker? We'll even try to get it on TikTok so that he can find it. Mr. Speaker, it includes a common sense plan to cut bureaucracy and taxes so that we can bring it home.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when I came into question period today, I didn't think I'd be hearing an infomercial for how great Pierre Poilievre's social media skills. Sorry, the leader.
We'll back up. I mean, the Honourable Prime Minister knows he's not supposed to use the names of members of Parliament. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I apologize. I didn't think Canadians were going to be hearing an infomercial for the Leader of the Opposition's YouTube page. The reality, Mr. Speaker, is Canadians deserve a government focused on delivering housing for them. That is exactly what we are doing with historic deals with cities right across the country, with measures to build more housing quickly. We are concretely solving that while he's talking to himself online.
Justin, do you really think that Pierre Poilievre is watching his own videos? 4 million views on his latest hit? That's a lot. Something to be aware of. You've also got to be aware of this. The coalition is falling apart. Alistair McGregor and Jenny Kwan don't look like they're very happy with the Liberals.
These out-of-touch Liberals have let the housing crisis get so bad that in Halifax this winter, a man died alone in a tent. The average rent in Halifax is now over $2,000 a month. Leaving it up to big developers won't bring down rents. People are being rental evicted. We need real action, not just words. The Liberals are running around announcing and re-announcing existing funding that will not deliver homes for another 4 to 7 years. Will the Prime Minister take immediate action to secure existing empty buildings to get people off the streets this winter?
Hear, hear. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are continuing to reach out and work with communities, with municipalities, and with provinces right across the country to deliver. We've been announcing projects completed that we started years ago. We're announcing projects that are starting today that will be completed in the coming years. We understand the efforts involved in solving this housing crisis. It requires us all to roll up our sleeves, which is why we put forward $4 billion in a housing accelerator to make sure that municipalities could build more homes. We're putting forward $15 billion to accelerate the construction of rental units. We're going to continue to be there for low-income and homeless people as well.
Member for Cowichan, Malahat, Langford.
Mr. Speaker, food prices aren't going down. A record number of Canadians are turning to food banks for their meals. Before the doors open at Bridges to Hope Food Bank in St. John's, there's already a lineup waiting to collect food hampers. Meanwhile, big grocers like Sobeys, who was here yesterday, are seeing heaps of excess profit, all while offering a nickel to its employees. The Liberals are failing to lower food prices. When are they going to crack down on the corporate greed that is driving Canadians to food banks?
Hear, hear. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, more competition means lower prices, more choice, and more innovative products and services for Canadians. Our affordability legislation will empower the Competition Bureau to hold grocers accountable and prioritize consumers' interests. The Fall Economic Statement proposes further amendments to the Competition Act to crack down on predatory pricing, to better respond to anti-competitive mergers, and more. We're ensuring that Canadians have more competitive options, and we're limiting excess profits by corporations at the expense of Canadians.
The Honourable Member.
Okay, I get it. Poilievre took it to you, and then the NDP is turning its back on you, being sour at your party for the poor leadership. It's still no excuse to do this to us. Why would you send in Larry McCauley? Just ask this poor guy to retire.
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Meeting farmers right across the country, the first question they ask me is, why does the Conservative Party of Canada not have a plan for the environment? I tell them we have a plan for the environment. We will work with governments. We will...
I mean, for gosh sakes, he's right here. I can't hear him. So, hold on. Are we ready? The Honourable Minister of Agriculture from the top.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The question that I get from farmers across the country is why the Conservative Party of Canada does not have a plan for the environment. I tell the farmers right across the country, we do have a plan for the environment. We will work with farmers right across the country, and for an example, in Saskatchewan, we announced $4 million with the Western Grain Research Foundation, just to make sure that the farmers stay on the cutting edge, that they're able to yield larger crops and make more profit. We have and will continue to work with farmers right across this country.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Member for Cyprus.
Justin, that's just weird and unusual punishment for everyone. Why are you doing that? It would be a good idea just to have Lawrence retire. He's 77. What is he doing in your cabinet? Here's something I'll point out though. Chris D'Entremont is a way better House Speaker than Greg Fergus. Fergus is a disaster. Alright Trudeau, it doesn't look like you want to have questions answered today, sending in McCauley like that. We'll just bring you some questions from the Conservatives. This is a murderer's row of MPs. Watch out. They've got questions. I don't think you have answers.
The Honourable Member for Halden and Norfolk.
At a time when this country is working towards reconciliation, the Liberals have saddled First Nations community with a punishing carbon tax. First Nations are so burdened by this unfair tax that they have decided to take the government to court. Canadians everywhere know that this Prime Minister is just not worth the cost. So, when will this Prime Minister finally remove the carbon tax from farmers, First Nations, and families?
That's Leslyn Lewis. She's an MP from Ontario. Let's take a look at another MP from Ontario, Ben Lobb.
Member for Huron, Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister, the Ag Minister, and the Environment are simply not listening to farmers. A pork farmer with a pork farm just down the road where I grew up, his natural gas bill in February was $4,300 just for natural gas. His carbon tax, $3,300, 75%. How can any farmer make a living when you got to pay that much carbon tax on the natural gas you use on your farm? When will the Prime Minister take the tax off farmers, families, and make it fair for farmers? Thank you.
Yeah, Justin, there's a lot of Conservatives that know how to ask questions. Here's Garnet Genius and then Jake Stewart, MP from Alberta and then New Brunswick.
Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, I have a simple proposition for the member. If the NDP Liberal government is genuinely proud of their work, then release the contracts. Let all of us see them so that we can know. But the NDP is complicit with the Liberals in trying to bury these contracts. Why? Every Canadian family will pay $3,000 for these deals. So they want to know what is in these deals for them. Again, what did the Liberals offer the NDP to get them to change their position, abandon workers, and hide these contracts? What are they hiding?
Quebec.
Grand Lake.
Mr. Speaker, under this Prime Minister, New Brunswickers are struggling to pay the rent. After 8 years, he's just not worth the cost. While rents are too high in major cities, recent increases have been the biggest in New Brunswick. According to Stats Canada, rent has inflated nearly 30% just in New Brunswick in the last 4 years alone. Will the Prime Minister agree that now is the time to get the gatekeepers out of the way so more rental housing can be built in the province of New Brunswick?
Yes, Justin, you've got a lot of work to do, a big challenge on your hands. These Conservatives aren't going to slow down, and it looks like the coalition is falling apart, and you never know what the Bloc's going to do. Who cares? I'm Ehren. This is Question Period Canada. We bring the highlights every night from Question Period. Like and subscribe. We're having a blast here with Canadian politics. We'll catch you next time. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night. Stay warm.